Hello everyone, good morning. I'm Rohini. I'd like to discuss about thermal power plants today. Let me give an overview of what we are going to discuss about thermal power plants. The first one is introduction, then goes the working principle, general layout of the thermal power plant, components of a thermal power plant, the waste generated and their control, pros and cons, and some references. Coming to the introduction of a thermal power plant, a thermal power plant converts heat energy of coal into electrical energy. Coal is burnt in a boiler which converts water into steam, where the steam is at high temperature and pressure. The expansion of steam in turbine produces mechanical power, which drives the alternator coupled to the turbine. Thermal power plants contribute maximum to the generation of power in a country. In India, they constitute 75.43% of the total installed captive and non-captive power generation. In thermal power generating stations, coal, oil, natural gas are employed as the primary sources of energy. Let us discuss the working principle of a thermal power plant. Firstly, the fuel is transported from mines via trains to the fuel storage facility in a power plant. The fuel transported to the plant is generally bigger in particle size, and before it is fed to the boiler furnace, it is broken down into smaller pieces using crushers. The water is taken into the boiler from a water source. The boiler is heated with the help of coal, which generates a large amount of combustion heat. Treated water is free from impurities, and air is sent to the boiler drum where the combustion heat from the fuel is transferred to water to convert it into the high pressure and temperature steam. Flue gases from the boiler exhaust at high temperature, and if this heat is not utilized, will lead to a large number of losses resulting in reduced boiler efficiencies. This waste heat is recovered by heating either air required for combustion or preheating the water before sending it into the boiler. The flue gases are then allowed to pass through a dust collector or a bag filter to arrest dust particles so as to prevent air pollution before sending it into the atmosphere through a chimney. The steam generated in the boiler is sent through a steam turbine. A turbine has blades that rotate when high-speed velocities flow across them. This rotation of turbine blades is used to generate electricity. A generator is connected to the steam turbine. When the turbine turns, electricity is generated and given as output by the generator, which is then supplied to the consumers through high voltage power lines. The picture here shows all the components of a thermal power plant. The components of a thermal power plant that we are going to discuss are fuel storage and handling plant, pulverizing plant, boiler, turbine, condenser, cooling towers, feed water heater, economizer, and air preheater. Let us first discuss about fuel storage and handling plant. The most essential part of any power plant is to store the fuel safely in an approximate amount so that plant can run smoothly in normal days as well as when the supply of fuel from mines is improper. A thermal power plant burns enormous amounts of coal. Coal is transported to the power station by rail or road and is stored in coal storage plant and then pulverized. The function of coal handling plant is automatic feeding of coal to the boiler furnace. Pulverizing plant. In modern thermal power plants, coal is being pulverized. It is ground to a size like dust and will be carried to the furnace in a stream of hot air. The exposure of large surface area to the oxygen to help in combustion is known as pulverization. Pulverizing process has three stages, namely feeding, drying, and grinding. Boiler. The function of boiler is to generate steam at desired pressure and temperature by transferring heat produced by the burning of fuel in a furnace to change water into steam. Turbine. Turbine is a mechanical device which converts the kinetic energy and pressure energy of steam into useful work. Generally, turbines are used to increase the efficiency in thermal power plants. Condenser. A surface condenser is a shell and tube heat exchanger where cooling water flows through the tubes and exhaust steam fed into the shell surrounding the tubes. As a result, steam condenses out from the tubes. The picture below depicts of a typical condenser. Cooling towers. A condenser needs a huge quantity of water to condense it into steam. Most of the thermal power plants used cooled cooling systems where the warm water coming from the condenser is cooled and reused. Feed water heater. Feed water heating improves the overall efficiency of a plant. Thermal stress due to cold water entering the boiler drum are avoided. Quality of the steam produced by the boiler increases. Economizer. Flue gases coming out of the boiler carry a lot of heat. An economizer extracts a part of heat from the flue gases and uses it for heating feed water. It saves the consumption of coal and gives the boiler a higher efficiency. Air preheater. The function of air preheater is to preheat the air before entering the furnace by utilizing some of the energy left in the flue gases before exhausting them to the atmosphere. After flue gases leave the economizer, some heat can be extracted from them. Further, cooling the flue gases by 20 degrees centigrade, efficiency of the thermal power plant increases by 1%. Let us discuss about the waste generator. Ash handling plant. The ash from the boiler is collected in two forms. Bottom ash known as slurry and also fly ash. Bottom ash is a waste dumped into the ash pond. Fly ash is separated from the flue gas in ESP. Water handling plant. Water in a power plant is used for the following purposes: production of steam, cooling purpose, and water is also used for various purposes after recycling it. There are many advantages of thermal power plants. Some are here. The fuel used is quite cheap. The construction of thermal power plant equipment requires minimum area compared to the other types of power plants. Thermal power plants are usually placed near the load center, which helps in reduction of power transmission and distribution costs. Compact design is advantageous for installation of a thermal power plant. The initial investment cost for setting up a thermal power plant is lower compared to the other types of power plants. Affordability attracts investment. Here are some of the disadvantages of a thermal power plant. Thermal power station needs a specific area where coal and water are easily available. Adequate space is essential for coal transportation infrastructure, namely railroads and roads. Thermal power plants emit smoke and fumes polluting the atmosphere. These emissions are harmful to both humans and the environment. The maintenance and operation costs of thermal power plants are relatively high. Regular upkeep is necessary for efficient functioning. Steam power plants have shorter lifespan compared to the hydroelectric power plants. Their efficiency is also lower due to inherent losses in the steam cycle. Thermal power plants require additional space and maintenance for coal handling and ash disposal. Proper management is crucial. Coming to the conclusion, a thermal power station is a type of power station in which heat energy is converted into the electrical energy. A typical thermal power plant may look like the picture given below. The references used for this project are given below. Thank you for spending your valuable time.